Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. This is the moment for the greatest revelation in the world. Imu-Sama and the world government fear Luffy so much that destroyed one of the elders simply because he failed to defeat Luffy. Now, we'll uncover the big reason behind this fear, and you'll see everything in today's video. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, Luffy has always been a figure that, in a way, challenges the very concept of authority in One Piece. From the beginning of his journey, he never cared about rules imposed by others, alliances that could bind him, or grand titles meant to intimidate him. However, as the story progresses, we realize that this seemingly impulsive and carefree attitude is precisely what makes him so dangerous in the eyes of the world government. The introduction of Im, the enigmatic leader behind the government, in chapters 908 and 956 suggests that Luffy isn't just another pirate to be dealt with. He represents a threat that transcends mere rebellion. He is someone who could alter the balance of the entire world. I believe the greatest reason for the fear Im and the world government have of Luffy lies in his connection to Joy Boy and the Void Century. The fruit Luffy ate, once known as the Gomu no Mi, and later revealed to be the Hito no Mi, model Nika, holds an importance far beyond simple physical abilities. In chapter 1044, it is said that this fruit was sought by the world government for centuries, though the exact reason wasn't revealed. Perhaps it is linked to Joy Boy, the former bearer of Nika's will, a symbol of freedom and hope who at some point in the past directly challenged the 20 kingdoms that formed the world government. The world government doesn't just fear who Luffy is now, they fear who he could become. Luffy embodies the spirit of freedom, something that goes against everything the government stands for. They've built a system based on control, obedience, and manipulation of history. Luffy, on the other hand, doesn't even respect the hierarchy among pirates, as we saw in the Sabaody Archipelago arc when he punched a celestial dragon without hesitation, directly challenging their power. This happened in chapter 504, and I think it was the first major moment when the government realized that Luffy wasn't just another pirate seeking fame or fortune. He was someone willing to fight for his freedom and that of others, regardless of the consequences. Moreover, Luffy has a unique ability to inspire those around him. He doesn't gain allies through promises of power or wealth, but through his authenticity and determination. We've seen this repeatedly, from recruiting Zoro to forming alliances with Trafalgar Law and the Samurai of Wano. Chapter 972 shows Odin's sacrifice and how his will was passed on to those around him. Luffy, in a way, is the continuation of this chain, someone who carries not just his own strength, but the strength of everyone he inspires. This ability to unite people, even those with completely different ideals and goals, is something the government cannot ignore. After all, the revolution they fear so much won't come from just one person, but from a union of voices. And Luffy is the perfect catalyst for this. Im, as the leader of the world government, understands the danger Luffy represents because he likely knows everything that happened during the Void Century. Perhaps he knows that someone with Nika's fruit and Joy Boy's spirit is inevitably drawn to the true history, something the world government has worked tirelessly to keep hidden. In the Ohara arc, we saw what the government is capable of to protect its secrets. Chapter 395 reveals how they wiped out an entire island just to silence archaeologists who were too close to the truth. This shows how far they're willing to go to maintain control. And Luffy, without even trying, is dangerously close to exposing everything. Another relevant point is the impact Luffy has already had on the world without even realizing it. Since the start of his journey, he has challenged the system in numerous ways. He defeated Crocodile in Alabasta, thwarting the Baroque Works' plans to take over the country, as seen in chapter 208. He also faced Enel in Scipia, a god who ruled with an iron fist, as shown in chapters 278 to 299. And in the Dressrosa arc, he took down Doflamingo, one of the main underworld agents who had direct ties to the government, as revealed in chapter 792. Each of these actions weakened the government's control and showed the world that they are not untouchable. Im likely sees all this and understands that Luffy is not someone who acts strategically or with calculated plans. He doesn't have a master plan to overthrow the world government, but perhaps that's what makes him even more dangerous. Luffy acts on instinct, guided by his sense of justice and freedom. He isn't bound by strategies or political alliances. He does what he believes is right, no matter the consequences. I think it's precisely this unpredictability that makes him such a significant threat. How do you fight someone who isn't afraid to lose everything if it means protecting those he loves? Another intriguing aspect is Luffy's connection to the D. The D in the name has been associated with the Void Century and the struggle against the gods like Im and the Celestial Dragons. In chapter 576, during Ace's execution, Whitebeard mentions that those with the D in their name are natural enemies of the gods. This puts Luffy in a unique unique position, not just as a pirate or a revolutionary, but as someone who carries a lineage that challenges the very existence of the world government. I think Im's fear is also tied to what Luffy could do with the One Piece, the ultimate treasure Roger mentioned in chapter 967. Roger and his crew reached Laugh Tale and learned the true history, but chose not to act because they knew the world wasn't ready. Luffy, however, is different. He doesn't care about whether the world is ready or not. He simply moves forward, guided by his instincts and his desire to protect those around him. If Luffy reaches Laugh Tale and uncovers the true history, I don't think he'll hesitate to use it to directly challenge the world government. Finally, there's the question of destiny. At various points in the series, we've seen characters mention how Luffy seems destined for something greater. In chapter 585, Ace and Sabo acknowledge that Luffy always had a kind of charisma that made them believe in him even as children. And during the Marineford arc, in chapter 590, Jinbe tells Luffy that he is the heart of his friends, showing that his impact goes beyond his individual actions. Luffy is someone who transcends the ordinary, both as a character and as a symbol. He is not just fighting for his own dreams, but for the dreams of everyone he has encountered on his journey. I believe this is what Im and the world government fear most, the idea that Luffy could inspire the world to rise up against them, not out of hatred or vengeance, but with a simple, unshakable desire for freedom. And against that, no system of control, no matter how powerful, can endure for long. One of the main reasons for Im's fear of Luffy is that he represents an anomaly. He is not the type of person who should be able to achieve so much. From the very start of his journey, Luffy has shown no interest in riches or overthrowing regimes. He simply follows his dreams and fights for the people he cares about. Yet somehow, this has placed him at the center of events that threaten the very core of the world government. The Nika fruit is a symbol of this. Even though Luffy didn't know the true power of the fruit he ate, his compatibility with it demonstrates that he is a figure destined to challenge the foundations of the world. This idea of predestination might be something Im understands deeply. Perhaps during the Void Century, the original wielder of the Nika fruit-likely Joy Boy was the greatest threat to the dominion of the 20 kingdoms. We know that Joy Boy was an ally of the ancient inhabitants of Laugh Tale and left a message for those who would follow in his footsteps in the future. Chapter 968 hints that Joy Boy had grand plans, but his efforts were interrupted by external forces. The world government likely fears that history is repeating itself, and that Luffy is the new incarnation of Joy Boy's spirit. This cycle of repetition is something we've seen mentioned several times in One Piece. In chapter 576, Whitebeard delivers a speech before his death, stating that someone will inherit Roger's will and that the One Piece will be found. He also mentions that this will bring about great change in the world. What's fascinating here is that Luffy hasn't just inherited Roger's will, but also Joy Boy's. These two figures, separated by centuries, seem to converge in Luffy, making him an undeniable threat to Im. Another aspect that likely terrifies Im is Luffy's connection to the ancient weapons. We know that Poseidon was revealed to be Shirahoshi in chapter 649, but much remains to be explained about Pluton and Uranus. I believe that Luffy, because of his nature and the bonds he forms on his journey, is one of the few people in the world capable of uniting these weapons. Not because he seeks to use them, but because he inspires those who hold access to them to join his cause. This is the real danger Luffy represents. He brings people together organically, while the world government only knows how to rule through fear. The Skypio arc, for instance, is a perfect metaphor for Luffy's struggle against the world government. Enel, who proclaimed himself a god, ruled Skypia with an iron fist, controlling people through fear and his almost absolute power. In chapter 287, Luffy directly challenges this concept of divinity, showing that he doesn't care about titles or hierarchies. He simply does what he believes is right. I think this same kind of defiance is what Im fears, but on a global scale, the same challenge that Joy Boy posed in the past. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.